I'm anxious to talk about this because I come from Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania is a great energy state, a great mining state, and I have a little history in the mining. Not myself personally, although I certainly was exposed to it a lot. Unlike other folks who have run for president who, maybe owned oil wells and ran oil companies, my grandfather was a coal miner. So a little different end of the spectrum. My grandfather came to western Pennsylvania back in 1927 and worked in a coal mine in a little town in northern Somerset County outside of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and it was a company town. Back in the day when he got paid with coupons, they called them coupons. You didn't get paid with cash, you got paid with coupons, and lived on the housing for the company housing and had to shop at the company store and the whole 9 yards. I've been to the house, the outhouse, the water, which was well away from the mines. It was about a quarter of a mile walk to get fresh water, and that was the environment that when my dad came 3 years later and came to America, as my grandfather had come 2 years before, but ended up in the mines 2 years later. It was an experience that my grandfather ended up working in those mines till 1958, till he was 72 years old. And he was involved in, I always say my grandfather, I'm sure he'd be very proud of me, but he wouldn't be proud of the party I represent. He was a Union Democrat, coal miner. He was a treasurer of his union and someone who was a fierce, very strong Democrat. And I remember when I was growing up as a kid, there were 3 pictures on the wall. It was a picture of the Pope. It was Jesus Christ, the Pope, and John F. Kennedy. Grew up in an Italian Catholic family. So anyway, I do have some background in the coal industry. My grandfather lived for the rest of his life, and I used to visit him right at the mouth of a mine, right across what was at the time an Orange Creek between the mine and his house. And so I used to play around on the coal fields as a kid growing up, and was when I left went to school at Penn State, which has a pretty decent mining school, I might add, and also worked for a senator who represented the coal industry and actually worked very closely with that industry for many, many years when I was in the public and as a staffer in the private sector. And then when I became interested in running for office, I continued to do a lot and work in the energy industry. And at the time, it was we had a little oil and gas industry. Most of the oil industry had sort of faded away in Pennsylvania. Gas industry was okay, and of course, the mining was not what it was. All the mining has moved out here to the west. I dealt with a lot of issues dealing with abandoned mine reclamation when I was in the Senate. But in the recent years, we've had a real change in Pennsylvania. We've had a change based on the fact that of hydrofracking and the deep wells that we're drilling for gas. And I remember when I was in the Senate my last few years, we were fighting about where to locate LNG facilities along the East Coast because we needed to import liquefied natural gas because we were deficient. We were looking at $12, $13 gas. And thanks in part to a lot of fines, but in hydrofracking and certainly Marcellus Shale, which as you all know is the largest natural gas field in this country and the second largest in the world, we now have $2.60 gas. And we are employing lots of people in Pennsylvania. We are dealing with the problems of growth and trying to find people to get into the industry in our rural areas. If you look at the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania, it's lower than the other states in the region. Why? Because of energy. And we're real excited about that. We're not so excited about the way the administration is dealing, not necessarily as much with hydrofracking, although that looms on the horizon as to what EPA and the administration is going to do, but certainly what they have done to the coal industry in Pennsylvania. With the delays and denials of permits, with the war on coal-fired power plants. As you know, the most recent regulation went in place, and we've already seen 6 coal-fired power plants shut down, 500 employees out of work because of that, and some are projecting as many as 60 may shut down as a result of these new regulations, the clean air regulations that are being put on coal-fired power plants. There is a war on fossil fuels in this country by this administration. It is one of our greatest assets that we have hundreds of years of coal, well over 100 years of oil, and probably a couple hundred years, and we don't even know yet how much gas we have. And the President does not look at that as an asset for our country. He looks at this as a problem that we have to get around and create alternative sources, because we can't be burning things that come out of the ground. And I just would add that I don't see it as a problem. I see it as one of the greatest assets and wealth that we have, not only to create the jobs of getting it out, but to create affordable energy to keep the standard of living in this country as high as possible. I know you probably have seen this and talked about it, but I wish I had my chart here with you. I sometimes carry a chart with me that shows by country the cost of energy in the country and the availability of energy in the country and the standard of living of that country. And you'll see that the cheaper the energy is in that country, the higher the standard of living. And it's a direct correlation to the abundance and affordability of energy and the quality of life that people in a society have, and the ability for the economy to grow. We always have to remind people, I do, that we went into a recession in 2008. People forget why. They thought it was a housing bubble. The housing bubble was caused by a dramatic spike in energy prices that caused the housing bubble to burst, because people had to pay so much money to air condition and heat their homes, or pay for gasoline, so they couldn't pay their mortgage. This is a reality of how important energy is to this country. And we put a plan together that is very big on energy production and growing the energy assets that we have in this country, particularly the energy assets that we have a competitive advantage. And I would say that doesn't mean that we need government-run programs to develop new sources of energy that aren't market-driven. I believe that we need to have an energy policy in this country that we eliminate all subsidies to energy, period. Make it a level playing field. Allow everybody to go out and consume, and have a regulatory environment that focuses in on reasonable environmental compliance, not driven by junk science, but driven by actual science, where we're talking about real health effects, not ridiculously extrapolated health effects. And that we have safety policies, both environmental and workplace safety policies, that again are compliance-oriented, not intended to punish and make it too expensive to operate, whether they're mining or drilling facilities. So we have an opportunity in this country, under a new president, to have a re-energizing of America, and create an enormous amount of wealth and opportunity as a result of that, whether it's building the Keystone Pipeline, which would be day one an order I would sign, whether it's a creation of a new EPA that will go about the process of repealing not only the regulation I just talked about on clean air, but a whole host of regulations, either repealing them or repealing and replacing them with regulations that are reasonable and cost-effective. These are the rational approaches we need to take to make sure that we have affordable energy and that we bring down the price, particularly of oil in this country, not just for our economy, but also for our national security. Finally, the name of my economic plan is called the Made in the USA Plan. And the reason it's called that is because I take a particular emphasis on creating manufacturing jobs in America. We have a country right now which is, frankly, uncompetitive with most of our trading partners, are certainly our biggest trading partners. And the reason it's uncompetitive is not because of the cost of labor. If you look at our top 9 trading partners and look at the exclude labor costs, we are 20% more expensive to do business in manufacturing-wise than our top trading partners. If we don't change that, we're going to continue to lose manufacturing jobs in this country. We're going to continue to have all of these high-tech products, which are being engineered and innovated here in America, manufactured somewhere else. People say all the time, well, how are we going to get the economy going? Well, certain parts of the economy are going reasonably well, but not as well as they could, because the rest of the economy is lagging behind. Unemployment among blue-collar people in America is 3 times